right, well, good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of the Moore-Miller administration, I'd like to welcome you all to the Governor's Reception Room here at the Maryland State House. My name is Tony Woods. I have the privilege of serving as the Secretary of Veterans Affairs for the great state of Maryland. I'd also like to acknowledge our partners from the legislature, Senator Guile, Senator Charles, Delegates Pruski, Rogers, Allen, Smith, Boafo, Patterson, and Griffith. Thank you very much for being here. I cannot tell you how excited my department and I are about the upcoming session and working with you throughout. Turning to today's event, we often come together to honor those who wore the uniform of our nation, and we should. The courage and sacrifice of our veterans and service members has kept us safe. But today we have an opportunity to celebrate and honor military families who also contribute to our nation's defense and often don't get the credit that they deserve. When I was interviewing for this job, Governor Moore challenged me to think about how I could lean in and do more to empower families, caregivers, and survivors. This challenge, to leave no family member behind, resonated deeply with me. In my office here in Annapolis, I proudly display one of my favorite mementos, the Blue Star flag that my mom hung in her window during my 2 deployments to Iraq. I keep it in my office as a reminder of the sacrifices that our military families make. It wasn't until I returned home from my 2nd deployment and saw the look of fatigue in her eye that I realized what a toll my deployment had taken on her. She had no way of knowing when I was safe or the rare moments that I was in actual danger. To her, my 2 years in Iraq were a constant source of stress and anxiety. But I know military families experience more than stress while their loved ones serve. They make years of sacrifices, big and small, every single day. Spouses whose careers take a back seat to their military service members. Caregivers who are providing a lifetime of support to a wounded warrior. Military kids leaving friends behind and enrolling in another new school. Gold Star moms who muster the strength every single day to lift up others in spite of their grief. These sacrifices are why Governor Moore and Lieutenant Governor Miller launched our latest initiative, Maryland Joins Forces, which brings together government, corporate, nonprofit sectors together to support military families, caregivers, and survivors. The initiative has 5 focus areas: employment, education, food and housing insecurity, health and wellness, and service. We've been calling on all sectors to do their part, and today, under the Moore-Miller administration, Maryland is answering the call. The package of bills you'll hear about today will do many things across our state. They'll ensure my department's name matches its mission. They will drive down military spouse unemployment. They lead on an interstate compact for cosmetology licenses with a special focus on military families. They ensure that families have a voice on the Maryland Military Installation Council. And they'll continue to show our appreciation for Gold Star families. By declaring 2024 a year for military families, we will make it clear that when we say thank you for your service here in Maryland, it's more than just a nice sentiment, and instead it's backed by action. And when we talk about service here in Maryland, it doesn't just refer to those who wear a uniform. It includes the family members and loved ones who support them too. And so with that, I'll turn the microphone over to one of my favorite partners in this work, Yolanda Raford, who is the Blue Star Families Chapter Director for Baltimore and the Chesapeake region.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Secretary Woods. What a great day this is turning out to be, and what a great year we are looking forward to in 2024. With over 270,000 members nationwide, Blue Star Families is the nation's first and largest chapter-based military family support organization. We seek to make military life awesome by fostering connections that connect our military families to their neighbors. These connections help provide a sense of belonging for military families across the nation, and I am proud to lead the charge here in the great state of Maryland with the Baltimore and Chesapeake chapter. Blue Star Families recently launched the Do Your Part initiative. Do Your Part is a multi-sector coalition of change makers seeking to fulfill the Constitution's promise of providing for the common defense by empowering our military families. As we'll hear today, it's clear that Maryland is stepping up and doing its part. On behalf of Blue Star Families, I'd like to say thank you. A little bit about me, so that you can understand the life of a military family member. For over 20 years, I had the great pleasure of being an Air Force military spouse. For over 20 years, every 3 to 4 years, I had to reinvent myself as I looked for a new job. I reinvented myself with many years of stay-at-home mom duties. Those stay-at-home mom duties ensured that kids were safe, they were secure, but part of those duties allowed me to do a fair amount of volunteer work. And so what does that volunteer work look like? It meant that I could gain skills that were invaluable. It meant that I could refine skills. That military service also provided our family with a wealth of information and experiences that cannot be replaced or easily explained to a lot of people. We built meaningful connections with others, we gained insights into the diversity of the world, and we cultivated an amazing work ethic marked by dedication and the willingness to extend a helping hand. Those experiences, when combined with the right support systems, make military families stronger and more resilient. As I mentioned, every 3 to 4 years, I had to reinvent myself. And on one of these missions, I was in front of an interviewer. And during that time, I was told that they typically did not hire military spouses. Imagine that feeling. However, we had a discussion. And so with that discussion, and that was a detailed conversation about my skills, my opportunity to affect their bottom line, and to bring a diversity of experience to them, we, together, decided to take a chance on me. And so they were able to do their part by setting a precedence for embracing diversity and talent in the workplace. That was back in 1996. That's a long time ago. However, I feel it like it was yesterday. That employer broke away and did their part and broke away from outdated norms and paved the way for positive change. That was a long time ago. Right now, did you know, right here in Maryland, we are celebrating a local unemployment rate that's half of the national average. But for the over 16,000 military spouses who reside in Maryland, they face unemployment rates nearly 3 times the state average and 2 times the national average. Blue Star Families research shows that supporting the entire military family improves service members' job performance and encourages them to recommend service to others, a crucial insight amid recent U.S. Armed Services recruitment and retention crisis. That's why we at Blue Star Families, as well as other partners, are excited about the initiatives we'll soon learn about. Creating change for military families necessitates a collective response from society. When we unite in this effort, military and veteran families not only survive, but thrive. We are asking that as we connect, empower, and strengthen the Maryland community, that you do your part. To ensure that the rapid changes will be implemented, to ensure a brighter, more secure future for our military spouses, where employment barriers are dismantled and opportunities for success are abundant. And as we together do our part. I'd like to introduce our next speaker, a distinguished advocate for our military community, as well as a military spouse. Please join me in welcoming Senator Dawn Guile.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you, Yolanda, for that kind introduction. And thank you to the Moore-Miller administration for working with us on this important legislation. I'm Dawn Guile. I have the honor of representing the 33rd Legislative District in the Maryland Senate. I'm also a mom of 3 girls and a very proud Army spouse. My husband, Sergeant Major DJ Guile, who's with us here today, retired just last year after 24 very long years of active duty service in the United States Army. When we first met nearly 20 years ago, his unwavering love for our country was just one of the many qualities that initially drew me to him. And it's been a privilege standing alongside someone so profoundly committed to duty and honor. However, being part of a military family is a journey marked by constant uncertainty, where plans are written in pencil, subject to the ever-changing demands of our military. Deployments transform military spouses into solo parents overnight. We are tasked with saying tearful goodbyes, then putting on a brave face for our children, all while holding on to the hope of a safe return for our loved ones. Together, my husband and I endured multiple deployments and separations, particularly in the early years of our marriage. Although he was gone for much of my pregnancy, he was fortunately present for the birth of our second child. Duty called, however, and mere days after returning home from the hospital, he left, leaving me to care for our newborn and our preschooler alone, with our extended family living thousands of miles away. In the face of such challenges, the military adage, Semper Gumby, resonates profoundly, always flexible. It's more than a saying, it becomes a guiding principle, a rallying cry for adaptability. And similar to many other military spouses, I worked to develop my own professional career, facing the formidable challenge of establishing myself as an attorney, while recognizing that the demands of the military always come first. The traditional image of the military family in the United States from decades ago doesn't match the reality today. Military spouses are a force to be reckoned with, educated, driven, and talented, and striving to advance their own careers. Military spouses are proud to stand alongside their service member, but they also care deeply about their own purpose and identity in their careers. It's not just about supporting someone else and the mission, it's about finding their own path too. However, military spouses face constant barriers to maintaining their careers. Frequent moves means they often find themselves in new states, looking for new jobs, while at the bottom of daycare waiting lists. And for those spouses in careers requiring professional licenses, like teachers, nurses, lawyers, even hairstylists, they have to navigate each state's confusing licensing frameworks. In my years of advocacy for military families, I often heard the stories of military spouses who, when going to a job interview, would sit across an employer who would look down at their resume with scattered work experiences in places like Oklahoma, Texas, Alaska, California. Instead of a fair chance, they're met with skepticism. How often are you going to be here? Leading to no callback. It's no wonder the military spouse unemployment rate is several times higher than the national average. That's why when I was elected, I was proud to advance legislation in support of veterans and military families in this last session. In the upcoming session, I'm excited to again collaborate with the administration and my House colleagues who are here with us today on additional legislation aimed at making Maryland as a leader among military-friendly states. One particular bill focuses on renaming the Maryland Department of Veteran Affairs to the Maryland Department of Veterans and Military Families, which I'm proud to work on with Secretary Woods here. proposal change aligns with the department's mission to extend services not only to veterans, but also to the military families serving on the home front. It's a tangible step towards better recognizing and supporting those who have contributed to our nation's defense. In addition, I'm proud to sponsor another bill that would designate military status, including as military spouses, as a protected class for hiring purposes. This measure recognizes the unique challenges faced by military personnel and their families and underscores our commitment to fostering inclusive employment practices. By extending protected status to military members and their spouses, we aim to create a more supportive and equitable environment, acknowledging the sacrifices and contributions of our entire military community. And let's be clear, supporting military spouses isn't merely just a nice gesture. Time and again, data underscores the pivotal role that military families play in military recruitment, readiness, and retention of our service members. Service members consistently express that the demands of military life often clash with family considerations. Notably, those who exit the service frequently cite their spouse's challenges in advancing their careers as a primary factor for leaving the service. In essence, this is not just doing the right thing, it's a national security imperative. Additionally, it's vital to understand that military spouses are exceptionally well qualified, well educated, and resilient. Amidst discussions of labor shortages, military spouses emerge as a valuable talent pool, ready to fill key roles right here in Maryland. Their potential contributions are pivotal not only for individual families, but also for the broader economic stability of our state. So thank you again for you all being here, especially the many advocates who have long been fighting for military families. My sincerest gratitude as well to this administration, Governor Moore, Lieutenant Governor Miller, Secretary Woods. Together we can create an environment that not only acknowledges the sacrifices made by military families, but also actively fosters their success. So thank you. And now I have the privilege of introducing another proud Army spouse, also named Dawn. And with all due respect to the Navy town that we are currently in, Maryland's First Lady, Dawn Moore.
It's an honor and a pleasure to be here with all of you and all the members of the General Assembly who are here and the members of the Governor's Cabinet. Pleasure to be with you, and of course, you, Senator Giles and Yolanda. Thank you so much. It's a true honor. Everyone is here. Everyone who is here is grateful for your partnership and your advocacy. And on a personal level, I want to express my gratitude for the powerful example you set. Your career in law and politics highlights a deep truth that I want to speak to this afternoon. When you're part of a military family, you know how to make big things happen. When a spouse or a brother or a mother goes off to serve the people who stay home, they step up. You need to manage the family finances and help out with the homework. You need to fit into a new community and be ready to move at the drop of a hat. Your mom, dad, CEO, and therapist, all rolled into one. You learn to juggle and you learn to lead. When you're part of a military family, you deserve to be seen and seen fully by all of your communities. Because you aren't just appreciated, you are necessary. You bring skills that others don't. When you hire someone from a military family, you're hiring someone who can improvise, adapt, and deliver results. When you choose to believe in someone from a military family, you choose to believe in someone who knows what it means to be mission-driven. When you bring on a member of a military family to a company or organization, you are bringing on the best person you could have on your team. It takes deep bravery and love of country to raise your hand and join the armed forces. That bravery and love spreads to every part of your family. I know because I've seen it. When Wes deployed to Afghanistan, he encouraged me to take a job that would be meaningful, so I could serve too. I know that same commitment to service thrives in so many of our military families. Wes and Aruna understand that, and they are turning that belief into action. I'm proud to support their work, and I'm proud to see them take leadership on this issue. With that, I will turn it over to our Lieutenant Governor, Aruna Miller.
Good afternoon, everyone. To all the military service members, veterans, military family members, caregivers, I say thank you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for what you do for our country and what you continue to do. Madam First Lady, thank you for the sacrifices you made as a military spouse and for your service now to our state as Maryland's First Lady. And in sincere gratitude to Secretary Woods, Secretary Wu, Senator Guile, Yolanda Raford with the Blue Star families, and to all the military families, caregivers, advocates who have joined us today. Governor Moore and I thank you for your service and for sharing your stories with us earlier. Military families bear the weight of sacrifices, enduring frequent relocations, long separations, and the uncertainty. These unique and challenging circumstances often affect financial independence and job opportunities. In fact, as you heard earlier, unemployment rate for military spouses is a staggering 21% compared to 3% nationally. According to a recent survey, 48% of military spouses of active duty service members stated that they have difficulty finding a job during a move or a change of station. 42% face a decrease of income. 32% of families struggle with multiple school transitions for their children. It's no wonder, because on average, military children move and change schools 6 to 9 times from the start of kindergarten to high school graduation. As a country and as a state, we have a great responsibility to show our appreciation to those who serve, our veterans and their families and caregivers, not just in words, but in action. And in Maryland, we are taking action. I'm honored to chair Maryland Joins Forces, modeled after White House's Joining Forces, a program championed by Dr. Jill Biden. Maryland is the very first state to implement this program to support veterans and their families and their caregivers at the state level by increasing access to employment, education, food and house security, health and wellness. And this is just one of the many actions we're taking to make 2024 Maryland's Year of Military Families. All the families here understand what it means to serve and what it means to love someone who serves and has served. For me, my father-in-law served in the Navy during the Korean War, and my husband is an Air Force veteran. My husband was able to attend college because of a GI Bill, and it was in college where we met. So it's suffice to say, I owe much to his service and his love for our country. We owe much to all of our service members and their families. And the Moore Miller administration intends to make good on our promise to them. Happy holidays to each of you. And now I'd like to turn over to the person who has always put country above self, our U.S. Army combat veteran, Governor Wes Moore.
How y'all doing? It's a great day. this is a wonderful day, and we're honored to be able to look out and see so many heroic faces and people who have continually stepped up simply because the country asked. And whether you were wearing the uniform or whether you were supporting those who wore the uniform, you stepped up because the country asked. And we are in eternal debt to you. To our Lieutenant Governor, thank you so much for being my remarkable partner in this work. To our First Lady, thank you for being my remarkable partner in life. To our Secretary of Veterans Affairs and soon-to-be Secretary of Veterans Affairs and Military Families, Secretary Woods. To Secretary Wu, who from the Labor Department has just worked tirelessly on these issues and put a real focus on also supporting military families in the labor conversation. To Senator Dawn Guile, I just have to take a personal moment of privilege just to say thank you. And also you, Sergeant Major. She's the general. Senator Guile, it has been an absolute joy working with you. And you talk about hitting the ground running. You have hit the ground ruck marching. And we really are grateful. And I want to tell you that not only am I proud of the military family legislation that you are putting up, I will be proud to advocate on behalf of it, and I'm looking forward to the day when I get this to my desk and I will sign it. To our House delegation, I just want to say thank you. It is a joy being your partner inside this work, and thank you for continuing making sure that military families and our veterans are first and foremost in our minds about how we are going to serve and who we are going to honor. I am proud of the fact that this year, 2024, well I should say next year, but 2024 will be the year for military families in the state of Maryland, and we are very serious about that. That we are going to make sure we are going to prioritize our military families. And for me, it is not because it's just policies. It's because it is personal. Because before I deployed to Afghanistan, I honestly thought it was the soldiers and the sailors and the airmen and the Marines and the Coast Guardsmen. I thought it was us who had it most difficult. I thought it was us who were going to have the greatest challenges. I was wrong. Because while we were deployed, we had good days and we had some really bad days. But we always had each other. And we took care of each other. The people who I never realized oftentimes did not have that same level of support were the ones who were left behind. It was the family members. What do you say to a father who cannot find a stable job because their spouse is deployed and their resume says that they have only held a consistent job for a year and a half, and an employer is skeptical because they have no idea about the situation that that person is walking in? What do you say to a mother of four who has to parent on her own while her husband's away, and then every year has to learn a new routine where about 9 months later they have to go through a whole new routine? What do we say to them? Our military families are sacrificing just as much as our people in uniform. And they're sacrificing so their loved ones can serve. They're sacrificing because our country asked for their families to be upended. They're sacrificing because our country asked for their families to be separated. And they're doing it for both a love of family and for a love of country. They are just as much a part of the American sacrifice story as anybody else is. So if we are going to make Maryland the best state in this country to serve, we need to support our service members, our veterans, and our military families. And we're proud of the fact that we've taken that seriously. Because in just our first month in partnership with the General Assembly, that we as an administration have been able to work collectively to create, for the first time in this country, a pathway for free dental care and free health care for members of our National Guard, because if someone is willing to wear the uniform of this country and put our state's flag on their shoulder, they should never have to worry about dental care. We were able to deliver the largest tax cut to younger veterans in Maryland in a generation. That in our first months, we launched Maryland Joins Forces, a program that helps military families with employment, education, health, food, and housing. And I just want to say a special thank you to Secretary Woods for your leadership and not just a vision, but your consistency in making it actually happen. And today, I am very proud to announce 2 bills that I will personally introduce this session to support military families. The first is called the Families Serve Act. This bill would create stronger pathways to employment for military spouses working in both the public and the private sectors in the state of Maryland. Now that matters because we know that employment is one of the biggest challenges facing military families. They have to move around all the time. They have to jump from job to job, not because the job isn't good and not because they're not good at it. It's because the country asked them to. They don't always have the flexibility and the time to build their careers in one place. And so therefore, we got a responsibility. We got a responsibility to make sure that we are protecting and seeing them, to ensure that in the state of Maryland, our military families can get hired even as they travel. So our bill has 2 parts to it. One for the private sector, and one for the public sector. For the private sector, our legislation allows employers to put a preference on hiring military spouses of active duty service members. In the state of Maryland, we already allow for preferential hiring of veterans. Do you know what we don't have as of right now? That extended to military spouses. When we get it done this session, that ends, and military spouses will And I want to take a personal point of privilege and give a shout out to our friends over at Starbucks. Not just because of your great coffee, but also because you all have implemented practices to help folks in the military and their families be able to get jobs. We just had the joy of stopping by a Starbucks over here in Annapolis, where Maryland has the highest concentration of Starbucks that support military families in the entire country. And what this bill is going to do, this bill will make it a little bit easier for other businesses to be able to follow your lead. And we're grateful. This provision is not a mandate, it's an option. It's an encouraged option. And it's an option that I believe deeply that we've got to offer. For the public sector, our bill requires that any military spouse applying for a job in state government receive strong consideration during their application process. State government often hires on a point scale. So if you're a military spouse applying for a job in Maryland, you'll automatically receive additional points because you are a military spouse. It doesn't guarantee you'll get hired. It just helps to level the playing field. It makes sure that you are seen and supported, and it makes sure that your resume actually reflects the service and the sacrifice that you have already made to this country. Now, our second bill is the Time to Serve Act. This legislation doubles military leave to state employees who serve in the National Guard or our military reserves. Now, this is absolutely critical because we know that in the status quo, service comes at an expense. service costs in the status quo, literally and figuratively, because folks that are juggling military duties and state jobs often use PTO, using their PTO to meet their obligations in the armed forces. They're using their time off to serve. That's the status quo. Our legislation helps to ensure that service members have the flexibility to use leave for family time instead of military drills. It's only fair, and it's only right. And this is going to make a big difference. And I do want to give a special shout out to a few members of the military. You know, this idea has been championed for a while, but I remember we were having a town hall in the Eastern Shore. We got a chance to, I won't say his name because I don't want to embarrass him and I don't want to get him in trouble. But I remember this was when I was governor-elect. And he came up to me at a town hall and he told me about the situation where he said he literally does not have time to have a family vacation because he's using his time off from state government for military drill. And so, to that individual, and you know who you are, Sergeant Major, I want to say thank you. And I want to say that we are focused in making sure that in this legislative session, after this legislative session, you won't have to do that anymore. Both bills ensure that we can help to keep our promises, and not just to our service members, but also our promises to our military families. I remember it was the second day of basic training, of basic, where they taught me a phrase: leave no one behind. Today, this is a continuation of putting those words into action. I'm deeply grateful for the way that my family stepped up when I deployed overseas. And I've seen the toll that deployment can take on those that you love. The decision to join the armed forces is not individual. It's collective. The decision to join the armed forces is not one that an individual makes, it's one that an entire family makes. And we cannot fully eliminate the challenges that come with the choice to serve, but we can work together to make sure we're lightening the load a little bit and make it a little bit easier for people to be able to serve their state and serve their country. I'm grateful for the partnership for everyone around this podium. I'm grateful for the partnership for everyone around this room. I'm grateful for the fact that you continue to make us better. I'm grateful for the courage and the bravery of every Marylander who's chosen to serve, and the courage to support those that do. And know that together, when we make 2024 the year for military families in the state of Maryland, this year, we're going to make that mean something. And so we're grateful, and now I'll take any questions you have.
Off topic?
Off topic, basically.
What is the status of the lease agreement? And this morning you used the word imminent, and what is that timetable?
Yeah, so I've been, I've said that there were 3 criteria that we were looking for when it comes to getting this Orioles deal done. And we have to make sure that we are making the best deal for the taxpayer. And the 3 criteria that we're looking for is, I'm not interested in a short-term lease. We're not doing a 1-year deal. We are going to keep the Orioles here for a long time. The second piece is we have to make sure that we are being proper stewards of every single taxpayer dollar. And the third gating criteria that I have is that we have to create winners not just on the field, but winners off the field. I have said that for the past 9 months. My stance remains consistent, and a deal is imminent.
To follow up, how will Senator Ferguson's concerns be addressed? Can you get into a little bit of that?
We've been working with our partners in the legislature and around to make sure that everybody will see that this is going to be a strong deal for the Maryland taxpayer. And the 3 criteria that I laid out, I'm not moving on them. And so we are going to make sure that while this deal is imminent, this is going to be a very good deal for the taxpayers, and we're working very closely with all of our partners to make sure that they see the same.
Moore.
Governor, I just wondered, when you were serving in the military, in any large or small way, did the impact it had on your family play into your decision not to remain in the military and to continue with that as a full-time career?
So I tell you, when I first joined, and as I was in my early years in the military, I thought I was going to be a career Army officer. It made sense to me. It was a place that I felt comfortable. I got sent to military school when I was 13 years old, and while I hated it when I first got sent, it ended up helping to change my life. And so I joined the Army when I was 17, and I had a full expectation that I would spend my life doing that work, because not only did I believe deeply in the idea of service, not only did I feel that I was pretty good at it, I felt it was something that it was an obligation, because I know what the military meant to me and how it helped my life. Deployments are tough, and ours was challenging. And while I still, even as I came back, as the First Lady will tell you, still went through thought processes and conversations, and lots of conversations about continuing. I think we just made a family decision that I try to find other ways to serve.
So he chose this.
But it was tough. It was tough because I love my soldiers. And I love the work. And I'm proud of the work that we did. But I just know that when we made the individual family decision, that it was time to step away and serve in a different way. I did it knowing that I was doing it with my partner, and I was doing it knowing that I was proud of the service that I gave. But I do think that was a real core motivation behind saying that in this time and in this moment, we were going to make sure that we're supporting our military, not just our military veterans, but also supporting our military families. I think about it in the state of Maryland. We have over 100,000 caregivers in the state of Maryland, like Nancy. People who are serving, continuing to serve. Their loved ones who have come home, and the ravages of war have changed them, physically, emotionally, mentally. And so we have our caregivers who continue to serve in such powerful ways. And so, while ours was a personal family decision, that it was time for me to take off the uniform, I know that my commitment to protecting my brothers and sisters and their families was something that was going to be lifelong.
More off topic, sorry, go back to the Orioles.
All right. Let's transition back.
It's been a very public back and forth for the past couple of months, especially. Just how would you describe what this week has been like with the negotiations, especially when you see, Baltimore, the Ravens, another pillar in Baltimore and in the state, announcing the renderings for their stadium projects as well?
I can't stress enough how important this team is. And I don't just say that because I'm a deep fan. I'm pretty unemotional when it comes to negotiations, and I've negotiated a lot of deals in my life. But I'd be lying if I said that this wasn't personal, because these are my oaths. But also, as I know what they mean to Baltimore, I know what they mean to the state of Maryland, I know what they mean to this region, I know what they mean to the small businesses that are supported by it, I know what they mean to the entrepreneurs, I know what they mean to our MBEs and our WBEs and our veteran-owned businesses. I know what they mean. And so I have been crystal clear for the past 9 months about what are the things that I'm looking for in this deal. And I'm immovable. We have to make sure that we are keeping them here for a long period of time. I am not, and I understand that that was something that happened in the past. I am not doing one-year deals. I'm not doing some short-term deals, because also I think we're even seeing what's happening in Washington, D.C., oftentimes how fickle sports teams can be. That we have to make sure we are locking in long-term deals, because we have to make sure that we're adding a measure of predictability to what is going to be the long-term growth of a city into a region, into a state. That we have to make sure that we are being proper stewards of taxpayer dollars. These are taxpayer dollars. And we have to make sure that we're being responsible with every single one of them, and we're being disciplined. And we have to ensure that this is not just about baseball. It's not just about sports. It's about economic growth and economic development, and how that has to be partnered with every single segment and section of a city and a community. That it's not just about a corridor or downtown. What does this mean to actually properly invest in the city and the region as a whole? And so, our team has been working around the clock on this. Our team has been working with all the stakeholders, making sure that everybody is not just informed, but engaged. And again, while I'm not an emotional negotiator, I know this. This deal is imminent, and I'm very proud about where we're going to land.
A quick follow-up, just, you said you're not interested in a short-term deal. Is that non-negotiable off the table? And then also, when you see what's happening in DC, is it becoming a real concern that if a short-term deal, that something like that could happen in Baltimore?
A short-term deal has been on the table for 9 months. That was a non-starter. And I understand, we had deals before that were done, that were one-year deals, but if anybody needs any reminder as to why I have been focused on getting a long-term deal with this team, just look at what's happening in DC right now.
So
And that's
that
it,
said,
David, that's it, we're gonna cut the questions. Thank you so much, thank you so much. If you have any follow-ups, you can reach out to us. Thank you so much.